Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Real Talk Show. Another exciting topic to talk about today. And of course, you can see that on the screen we have amazing faces. And from the look of things, we have been talking about this, something related to what we're talking about today on our Facebook page. Like we've been posting posters, and you people have been there to just comment, like, and share our posters. We really appreciate your engagement. But guess what? Friday is for the Real Talk Show, the show where we talk about nothing but something that really affects us as young people and our community at large, and how best we can just talk about such things. I mean, it's called the Real Talk Show for something. We call it a Real Talk Show because we talk about real life situations. Anyways, without wasting much of your time, today we are discussing an amazing topic, which is empowering adolescent girls and young women through leadership and mentorship, and of course, advocacy skills. As you can see on the screen, let me say something about the people on the screen today. We're talking about empowerment and leadership through advocacy and the works that the Winning with Women and Girls has been doing in different parts of the country. But on the call today, we have people who have directly benefited from the project itself. And this is something that we are going to learn from, something that we are going to listen to, something that we are going to just be inspired by their stories. They are going to tell us how they started. And of course, out of these people, we also have an organization that is just working around the empowering of adolescent girls and young women. Let me not speak so much. Let me give a chance to my co-host to say something. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm good, Margaret. How are you?
I'm all right.
Great, great. Just like you mentioned, today we're talking about a very, very important topic. It has been a series of empowering women and young girls. And today, yet another exciting topic where we're discussing young people, women, young girls, and young women taking up these leadership roles. And today, I'm also excited, just like you, Margaret. We have a good panel of guests, people that have benefited directly from the project itself. And I must say, I'm excited to hear from our guests. And I guess the people that are watching the show are also very, very excited and are eager to hear more about what this project has been doing and just hear more about it.
Exactly. Looking at the time I was planning for this show, I just had it in mind to say this show is going to be very interesting because we are going to listen to stories of these people and how the project just built them to who they are at the moment. So without wasting much of your time again, I'm just going to let my panel or my guests to just introduce themselves. So you're going to tell us your name, where you're coming from, and what you actually do in that order. So I will start with Blessing. Blessing, you can go ahead and just introduce yourself. Okay, it seems like Blessing's network has started defeating her before the show could start. Anyways, I will move to Gezira. Gezira, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, young people. Thank you very much, Margaret and Mwene, for having me on the show, and to my fellow panelists. So, my name is Gezire Tembo. I'm the executive director and founder of an organization called Space to Share Outreach Center. This is a youth focused organization that actually looks around advocating to the needs of the young people for them to be able to make informed decisions about their health, that is, access to health, about access to financial literacy, mentorship, and leadership, as well as ensuring that they're empowered with different skills at different levels. Yeah, so that is space to share, and we're always glad to share space because we're always looking at inspiring minds and always creating change. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Gezire. Miranda, you can go ahead. Is Miranda still with us? Miranda, you can go ahead. Okay, so it
So
seems like the network is not with us today, Brian. You've seen what's happening?
Yeah.
I
So
see,
I think he's
Margaret.
trying
But
to get
then
on again.
we, yeah, we have Gezire here, and I think we can get started with our conversation with her as they join us.
Exactly. So as we wait for others to join us, we're just going to start the conversation with Gezire, whose network is stable at the moment. And you know, as TYP, we talk about inclusivity and we ensure that this show is available to each and every person out there, and our friends are just able to understand and be able to just contribute towards the show. And in that aspect, we have Memory Zulu, who is helping us just do the science to our fellow people who are out there so that we can be together as we are discussing this show. Miranda, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Apologies, I was just having some technical glitches. My name is Miranda Ziva, and I'm Policy Advocacy and Networking Manager at the Youth Platform. It's really a pleasure to be on the show after a long time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Miranda. And Blessing is back. Blessing, you can quickly introduce yourself so that we can get right into the discussion of the day. Your mic is
Thank you
muted.
very much, Margaret. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Hi, the lovely audience. My name is Blessing Bwalia. I am currently a student at the University of Zambia and a member of TYP 360, actually a board member of TYP 360. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much,
Great.
Brian. Over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Margaret. I wanted to say, indeed, it's a very, very good panel, and we're privileged to have a board member for that matter, Margaret. I think that is a very good show today, starting our conversation with such guests.
Exactly. All right, so we are going to dive right into our conversation. Miranda, being we know that you are going to tell your story at the end of this show or during this show, but we would like to just hear from you, like, what does the empowerment through the Winning with Women and Girls mean to you?
Thank you very much, Margaret. It's such a pleasure to be the first one to talk about this. So, for me, empowerment means that you are creating an opportunity for adolescent girls and young women to be able to realize that they have the potential. So you give them an opportunity to realize their potential and also to build their confidence. Because I believe that young people can only become agents of change in their communities once they realize that they have the potential and they are able to create the change and become the agents of change within that community. So for me, I believe that it's about equipping young people with knowledge, skills, and mentorship that can create a platform for them to be able to sit in key decision-making spaces and be able to make informed decisions. It's about giving them the capacity to be able to advocate for their rights in different spaces and also take up leadership roles. I believe once a young person is able to take up their leadership roles and realize that they have a responsibility, then they'll be able to, they will be empowered. So on this project, Winning with Women and Girls, we are focusing on empowering adolescent girls and young women to be able to sit in key decision-making spaces, and it is funded by the Her Voice Fund, which mainly focuses on ensuring that adolescent girls and young women are participating in HIV, TB, and malaria decision-making spaces. And these mainly include the Global Fund, because the Global Fund is the fund that supports malaria, TB, and HIV interventions in the country. So the Her Voice Fund really aims to ensure that young adolescent girls and young women are able to sit in those spaces and make decisions about themselves, plan for interventions that will respond to their needs as adolescent girls and young women. So on this project, for me, the Winning with Women and Girls project, I believe that to empower a young person, you need to give them those skills to be able to sit in those spaces, to be able to make concrete decisions, and to also be able to set programs that are responding to their needs as adolescent girls and young women. It may not be their needs personally, but needs of their fellow adolescents, girls and young women. So on this project, I've actually seen that young women are supported, that when the young women are supported and given these opportunities, they can meaningfully change and inspire others to do the same. So that is what mentorship means to me on the Winning with Women and Girls project.
Thank you
Great.
so much, Miranda, for
Thank
that
you.
insightful response. Yes,
You can go ahead,
Miranda,
Brad.
I think you thank you so much. So, Miranda, you brought about a lot of issues talking about giving a platform to young women and girls. And here we are privileged. We have one a young woman who is in the space where she can advocate as well as taking part in decision making, who is Blessings, who happens to be a board member of the youth platform 360. And I'd love to hear from you, Blessing. What how has been your journey from the time that you were a mentee through this project to actually taking up the role of being a board member, being in the room where decisions are made? I would just love to hear from you what that journey has been to you and what it has meant to you as a young woman.
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, the Women Winning with Women and Girls project has really been impactful, and the journey can be described in, where you've gone to a particular place where there was dust, and then all of a sudden it rains, so you no longer have dust; it becomes clean. So it's been quite a ride. Most of the times I've even had to push more than I expected to push for me to get to the decision making table, because the project has not only taught us that getting into rooms is enough, it's also sustaining yourself when you get into those rooms. So it has really, from the time I was a mentee, I've been able to learn how to not just speak on matters, but to also speak the language of policymakers and decision makers, so that when I get into that room, I don't just become idle. I also become sustainable and valuable, and I'm able to impact the lives of the young people and represent the young people that are not able to access such rooms. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for that blessing. Indeed, when we look at the project, just as Miranda mentioned, some of the things that the project is currently doing and how it is impacting adolescent girls and young women. And of course, having you on the show, being in spaces where you are able now to just represent your fellow young people, your fellow young women and girls out there, it's indeed showing that the project is definitely doing something and changing lives at the end of the day. Thank you so much for that response. And I'm going to move to Gezire. Gezire you are the founder, the CEO, I should say, of an amazing organization. And of course, you empowering adolescent girls and young women in so many different areas. So we have heard what Winning with Women and Girls is doing and what is it has been all about. But I would like to hear from you, like, kindly tell us more about your organization and the work it does in supporting adolescent girls and young women.
Okay, thank you so much, Margaret, once again. So, like I had earlier said, we are Space to Share Outreach Center. And just from the name itself, Space to Share, we love to share space, especially with the young people. So, where does the background story come from? The background story comes from a young girl who was mentored, who was inspired by people that took time to input into her. Like when I was growing up as a young person, as a girl guide, I had guide leaders that believed in me. I had guide leaders that saw my potential. I had guide leaders that mentored me into what I am today. And I look back to my hometown, I look back to my community in Kabwata, and I look at so many girls that don't have the privilege that I had to have. Even just one person believes in you aside from your mother. You know, our mothers all believe in us, but what about a Miranda that can see potential in this young girl, a blessing who's at Unza? What about this young person, a Margaret who's at, TYP as a young person? And this is why then we started Space to Show. I started Space to Share because I needed to ensure that young people have a mentor, they have someone to look up to outside their community or outside their family. And the second thing is that what really pushed the seriousness in starting this was the breakdown of most adolescent friendly projects last year. So it was very painful to see good projects like the Dreams Project come to an end for adolescent girls and young women. And having been on that project from the inception and for a very long time, I could see what it could do. I thought to say, okay, where are these young people going to go to? Let's also create a space. And this is where now the name itself came from, like space to share. And as much as at the time it looked so difficult because you're looking at starting something, do we have the resources? Do you have the young people? Then it just started as something online. You post a nugget on Instagram, you post a nugget on Facebook, and the background behind that was very intentional because it is a youth-led organization, rather youth focused and community based organization, where now we wanted to bring people together that could actually support these young people. So it wasn't basically just up to me alone as the CEO, as you've put it, but I had to tap into different expertise and different people that were willing actually to support this cause. And you do realize that if you ask people for something, they're always there. You just have this perception to say, oh, maybe Miranda is too busy if I ask her to lead a session. So we basically started with what we're calling our Space to Share Leadership and Mentorship program. This is an online program that we have, and we've had our first cohort running from the 1st of April, and we're running through it until June. So we've had to interact with young people, and this is online. It doesn't cost so much. The young people are able to buy their own bundles, or they are telling their parents, reached out to the parents, and we're sharing with them leadership and mentorship sessions step by step. We have talked about my very personal experience and favorite topic, which is personal branding in this Gen Z era. What are the advantages that we had? In our time as millennials, we never had things like the talk show. The real talk show where you're getting information. You needed to walk probably to the Girl Guides, you needed to walk to Youth Alive, you needed to walk to Africa Directions. But now, what are we using now in the Gen Z era, which is an advantage? We have the Facebook, we have our Instagram, we have all these institutions that are ready to invest into the young people. And why not jump on that as a young person? Why not, reach out into a person that you've seen on TikTok, or rather on LinkedIn, on Facebook, send them a message. Let them mentor you because you're inspired by them. And this is basically what we are doing as Space to Share. We're always ready to share our space. We're always ready to pay it forward because we had the opportunity of being invested into, and we want to carry on with that. So basically, that is what we are at Space to Share. We're inspiring minds, and we're actually creating change as we even grow as an institution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for that explanation on what you are doing as an organization, and we appreciate the fact that you are touching lives and changing lives out there. Thank you so much for that, Gazire. And I have seen that our online community are very busy today. Like, they're already commenting on our socials. I have seen Bakasama, Bakawe, Bachoma, Bazingalume. It's very interesting to see that you people are actually just following up on this conversation. And please, if you have any contribution that you would like to contribute towards this show, you can just do it in the comment section. If you have a question for Miranda, for Gezire, or for Blessing, you can equally do that in the comment section, and we'll be able to just read them out. Brian, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Margaret. And Margaret, before you came in, I heard Gezire talk about their space, what they're doing, and how they are pouring into these young women and girls. And I think that is very important. And talking about the story where the genesis of the organization, she mentioned about how other people had to invest in her in order for her to be also in a space where she can empower other young adolescents and young women. So this brings me a question to Miranda. In your view, Miranda, how important is it to mentor young girls and women when it comes to boosting their confidence as well as, for lack of better terms, I would say preparing them to take out these leadership roles? How important is it?
Thank you very much, Brian. So for me, I think mentorship is really important because it guides young people and it provides them encouragement and support system so that they can be able to navigate the challenges that comes with leadership and also to pursue their goals. So having someone who believes in you and in your potential is actually very important and significant in a journey of every adolescent girl and young person that wants to take up a role of leadership. So it helps you to build your self confidence, to be resilient, and mentorship also just allows you to learn from experts. You learn from their experience, and it also helps you learn and see common mistakes and see how you can avoid them and also to develop your skills that are necessary for you to be an effective leader. And if you are taking up a role of advocacy, the mentorship actually helps you to provide you with advocacy skills. So it helps young women to see their possibilities and also helps them to not have doubts in themselves and also just to see that they're able to do something that they have never even imagined, and that is just like my case where I'm able to do things that I never ever imagined myself to be able to do. So I think mentorship is really important for every adolescent girl and young women, because you cannot walk alone, they say. So even when it comes to leadership, every young person really needs to just take up and find a mentor that can be able to mentor them. Thank you, Brian, for that question.
Okay, Brian, has that been responded to?
Yes, yes, Margaret. And I love the way she's responded to say young people themselves need someone to believe in. And I guess, Margaret, when you have someone to believe in you and someone to walk through the journey, I think that becomes easier for you to just navigate through the path. I think good, Miranda, and I'm very, very impressed with what you're doing in your space. Thank you so much, Mimi.
All right, thank you so much. So I know that with the little knowledge that I have, Miranda also came from being a mentee to a mentor and where she is at the moment. So, Miranda, if maybe before we even move to Blessing, I would like you to just, in a very short, I don't know how I can call it, but in a very short kind of response, you can kindly just highlight the journey that you had and where you came from for you to be where you are today under the Winning with Women and Girls.
Thank you very much, Margaret. That's something I really love to share. And I'll just start that my journey actually started like every other AGYW we see around. Um, every young person that could be watching me today and thinking, I can't do this. This is how my journey started. So I began as a mentee. A mentee is simply somebody that is being mentored, somebody that comes on board with no knowledge at all and just comes willing to learn. And that is how I joined my journey. I actually joined ZYP then, I know we are now TYP, but I joined the organization as a mentee under the Her Voice Fund project, which is was and is still being called Winning with Women and Girls. So I joined through mentorship sessions, and through those sessions, I was able to gain valuable knowledge. I was able to gain leadership skills because that is what the mentorship was really meant for. The sessions also helped me to gain confidence that helped me recognize that I actually have the potential. So I continued to receive the guidance and support that was given to me by my mentors, and I was able to step out of my comfort zone. Initially, I was a very shy young person. I did not really have as much information as I needed to have to be able to sit and even just participate in any space that one would really think of for a young person. So I just continued to actively participate in the mentorship, and that led to another where I was now able to participate in community initiatives. I was able to participate in advocacy spaces as an observer sometimes, and sometimes also as somebody that was able to speak because I was under mentorship. So from there, over time, I took responsibilities and I started representing young people in various platforms. Um, and later became a project officer for the Winning with Women and Girls project. So after I became a project officer on this project, I started mentoring my fellow young people. And at that time, I was somehow, I would call myself fully baked, and I was able to mentor my fellow young people. I became project officer, and today I'm able to represent young people in various platforms. As we speak now, I am currently the CCM, Global Fund CCM youth substantive member, or what you would call a youth representative. So the CCM is called Country Coordinating Mechanism for the Global Fund. And I am sitting on that in that space and representing adolescents and young people, and not just the adolescent girls and young women. So I'm contributing to decision-making processes, and the project itself has actually helped me understand that leadership is not about service only. It's not only about influence, but it's also about creating opportunities for other young people to be able to contribute to what you are contributing. So, in a nutshell, I would say this has been my journey. I started as a mentor, as a mentee. I became a mentor, and now I'm even representing my fellow young people on spaces as a national representative. So it hasn't been an easy journey, but because I was determined and because I was focused and I took advantage of the mentorship that was given to me, I was able to move from one level to the other. And I really look forward to seeing many young people like me take up such spaces and take up such key roles in the country and beyond.
Thank you so very much for that, Miranda. And indeed, it's all about being determined, and you be able to see yourself where you want to see yourself as a young woman or as an adolescent girl. I mean, look at the topic that we're looking at today: empowering adolescent girls and young women through leadership, mentorship, and advocacy skills. And Miranda here is one of the products. Like, she just started as a mentee. She moved from where she was to where she is right now. So it's all about determination and just knowing what exactly and how best you can help your fellow adolescent girls and young women out there. Thank you so much for that story, Miranda. And we are glad that the project is not just there to showcase itself about what it's doing, but it's actually impacting different lives of adolescent girls and young women. So before I lose my thought, we have some questions in the comment section. But before we go to that, I would like to go to Blazing and just ask my question before we can get this stepped, because I can forget about this question, and I really want to hear what Blazing is currently doing, especially when we look at the mentorship sessions, sessions that she has provided, and the opportunities that has just made you to find yourself in those spaces where you are able to speak, you are able to influence some policies, you are able to talk to different people about what exactly adolescent girls and young women are going through out there. So I would just like you to just highlight some of the things that you are doing in order to just maybe represent adolescent girls and young women apart from being in those key decision spaces?
Thank you very much, Margaret. Allow me to start by stating that there is always transition that's needed. And in the NGO space, we often don't prepare people for transition. And that's why mentorship is very important. And the winning with women and girls, with young women and girls, of course, has been very impactful because it's also a platform that prepares young people for transition because you have mentors, you have people that have been or at least attempted to be where you want to go. Currently, I am serving as a board member under the Youth Platform 360, but I'm also serving as the Youth Advisory Board member for the Swedish Embassy currently. And I've worked with adaptive leadership. Also, as a board member, I've also been able to represent young people on national and international forums such as the ICASA, the RHNK conference, and meetings with the World Bank. And of course, it's been quite a ride. But all that is nothing if I'm not representing the young people and how well I'm bringing back the impact to my institution. So because of the spaces that I've been on and I'm still going to be on, I always come back to my institution and the people, the young people in my community, and I make sure that the young people in my community have had a voice, so that whatever I'm presenting there is what they want to see happening in the health spaces. I also currently am the Secretary General for the Disciplinary Commission because the project has taught me that discipline is also key in whatsoever we do, and I'm using whatsoever information that I'm getting, that I've gotten from the mentorship programs that we've had on this particular project to mentor other young people into advocacy. Right now, there are so many young people that have entered different leadership spaces and are advocating because they've been learning and is being inspired. Every time I go into a meeting, I make sure that I ask for an extra seat for a young person, and that young person must be experiencing the problem and not just an articulate young person. And so, with the little information that I've had and the knowledge that I've gained, I'm going back to my community and conducting sessions. Like Miranda said, it all starts with those meetings in the peer education that often look making change or they're not influencing policy, and that is where I'm starting from. I'm starting from within my room, within my community, and then I'm also just gathering young people and educating them about policy and how they can speak the policy language, because trust me, policymakers are not just listening to what you're posting on social media. They want you to put it on paper and they want it to reach the right office. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for that response, Blessing. Brian, I can see that you want to say something. You can go ahead.
Yes, Margaret, just before you read out the questions that we have, I think Blessing has mentioned a lot of things from the journey itself, from the start being a mentee to actually being in a space where she can advocate. And also, I love the fact that she's mentioned to say when she goes in these spaces, she's not carrying only her story, but also the story of other adolescent women and young girls. I think that is very, very impressive. Margaret. And I think going to the before we go to the comment section, I would also love to hear from her maybe what challenges, just under seconds, what challenges she has faced throughout her journey, and how she has managed to resolve, obviously because she has those mentors like Miranda, but herself, what are some of those challenges that she has faced?
Okay, I feel like Blessing's network has kind of done its thing. Like she's stuck. Her network is not stable, but as she comes back, she'll still respond to that question. And I feel like it's very important that we have these people on the show, because when we're talking about these things and we're just mentioning to say the show is impacting lives, it's changing lives, it's empowering adolescent girls and young women to find themselves in these spaces where they're able to just talk about certain issues, challenges, and addressing such issues. It seems like it's just a story, but having them on the show like this and just being in the space where they can talk about it and just give us like a story of where they're coming from, it's actually a very good thing. And it's actually inspiring to somebody who's watching out there, just as Miranda mentioned, to say it's not an easy journey. It's obviously you get to face some challenges, but with determination, you definitely get to find yourself where you want to be at the end of the day. So let me get right into the comment section and read some of the comments that we have from our beautiful audience. I have one here from our very own Karen. She's now our own because she's always here. Thank you so much for always being here, Karen. And Karen is saying mentoring young women can help them learn in developing leadership skills, such as decision making and problem solving skills. Thank you so very much for that, Karen. Karen is from Kawe. Thank you. The key is willingness to learn. Very true. Thank you so much, Vincent. Oh, our very own Vincent again. Another one is, my question is, how do you reach the young women in rural areas in terms of this information? So this is Diana Wakmelo. Thank you so much for that, Diana. So we have a question and I will throw it to Miranda. Miranda, take note of that question. How do you reach the young women in rural areas in terms of this information? Thank you so very much for that question. Miranda will be able to respond to it. Do you have any other comments? Okay, good day, everyone. My name is Dixon Kembe, and I'm pleased to join this platform after being invited by Edina. Okay, thank you so very much for joining. Thank you. We really appreciate, and we appreciate Elena for inviting you to this discussion today, Dixon. Thank you so much. How do you make advocacy training safe for the girls, especially tackling sensitive issues in their communities? How do you make advocacy training safe for girls, especially tackling sensitive issues in their community? This question will go for Gezire. Gezire, you can take note of this question. You are also in the advocacy space, and we know that you kind of do with different communities, and so you'll be the best person to respond to this. Diana is back. Diana is saying Blessing made mention that she asks for an extra chair in board meetings. How many people has she helped attend the meetings? Blessing, take note of that. Oh my goodness, the comment section today is on fire. Thank you so very much for your contribution. Blessing, take note of that question. So for now, we're going to respond to the questions and then we get right back into our discussion. So Miranda, there was a question for you. Please, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I will start by mentioning that TYP is proud to have presence in all the 10 provinces of the country. And our programming reaches every young person in Zambia, whether you are in the urban setting or you are in the rural setting. In terms of the project, yes, we are implementing the Winning with Women and Girls project in Southern Province, that is Livingstone and Choma districts. But the project reaches out to many other young people in different provinces. And we encourage these young people to be part of different interventions that we are doing. I am on the CCM, and in the CCM, we conduct what we call provincial dialogues. And during the provincial dialogues, we engage with different young people from across the country. And during these provincial dialogues, we ensure that even our adolescent girls and young women are represented on these platforms, and they come through and speak for themselves and represent their fellow young people. But we also do implement provincial and district adolescent health indabas, and we ensure that these indabas are also implemented in districts that are far and hard to reach. And I will give you an example of Northern Province, where we are planning to hold our provincial indaba in an area that is in the rural district. We are working to implement a district indaba in Lunte district, which is one of the districts that one would consider as a rural district, where we find most of these young people who have very little information, and they need to access such information. So we are not just implementing such in one district, but in all the 10 provinces of Zambia, we will be implementing, we do implement district indabas. So currently, as we speak, this year, we are implementing in about 30 districts. And so in those 30 districts, we are not targeting the urban districts, but we are going into the rural districts where young people do not easily get information. Apart from that, we have other organizations that are implementing the Winning with Women and Girls project. We have an organization implementing in Chibombo district. We have an organization that is implementing in Kasama district. And we also do have another organization that is implementing in Chibombo as well. So the project itself is reaching young people in different districts, both the urban and the rural districts. And also we have champions that we identify as the youth platform, and these champions are dotted in different areas of the country, and they're able to reach adolescent girls and young women with as much information as they can. Also to mention that we do work with different organizations that are reaching adolescent girls and young women in many spaces, and we do not leave those away. So I hope I have answered your question, Diana. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay, thank you so very much for that response, Miranda. And I hope it's clear to Diana. Before we can read more comments, we are going to Gazire. You can go ahead and respond to the question. Do you want me to read it for you, or you took note of it already?
Read it for me, please, Margaret.
How do you make advocacy training safe for girls, especially when it comes to tackling sensitive issues in your community, or in their community rather?
Okay, so first and foremost, for most civil societies, or rather a lot of organizations that are working with young people, be it children or the youth, we go by the guiding principles of the national policies. So we still sit within what the Ministry of Health guides us to do, because we have the adolescent strategic plan and the policies that guide all of us. I'm sure which is the same case with TYP and all the other organizations. And we also have what we call the child safeguarding policies, especially the organizational child safeguarding and child protection policy. So each organization that is going to interact with young people, even children, they need to have a child protection and child safeguarding policy. What do I mean by that? That protects the guideline, that protects the organization and the children that are actually benefiting from that, to be able to deliver a particular session as regards to the age group that you're working with. For example, if you're going to work with young people, probably below the age of even 16 or 10, you probably need consent, obviously, to get their pictures. But most importantly, what you need to do is that you need to understand the community setting. What is the community structure? Are you working within the church? So you need a local person to actually guide you through, to say this is the process in which we protect the girls. Remember, we are working with young girls and young women. So you need to also just, as much as you're working with the guiding principles, you also need to make them comfortable. If it's in a rural setup, are they comfortable with the way you're dressed? You need to do your mapping beforehand. You need to do your research. Do I need to go with Htenge as Gezue as I interact with these young people? So all those things to be put in place and they need to be understood. A training that you can conduct in Lusaka is totally going to be different with a training that you're going to conduct in Chadiza. So you really need to understand even the literacy levels. What is the language? Am I going to use English? Am I going to use Chichewa? What is the body language? So safety even just comes with your prior research and mapping that you've done of the community, especially of the target population, and also understanding of that particular community setting so that you're ready and able. So if I'm going to go with my, with my jeans, then I'm making the girls uncomfortable. But in that community setup, they've seen that women need to wear chitenge. So all that needs to be prepared. But remember, we're working with the guiding principles. We're also understanding the cultural dynamics within the community setting that we're working in. So it's actually diverse. You can conduct the same training in Lusaka, and you will just use a different approach for Lusaka, and you use the same training and use a different approach in a rural setup. So the most important thing is that we need to ensure that we maximize our reading as young people, especially in this generation. If there's a policy that is out for young people, read it. What does it say about free education? We saw yesterday, we were talking, the government was talking about the free education and what does it mean for us as young people? What does it mean for the future? You need to take time and invest in understanding what is it that benefits us. It doesn't just have to be from the local point of view. It could be from the global point of view, just like Miranda has made mention. What is the global document talking about in terms of a UN document about young people? What is it talking about in terms of protection? So even as we are transitioning to adulthood, we know our rights, we know what we need to benefit from. And we miss a lot of opportunities because it's mostly put in reading, and we don't like reading for this generation. So let's ensure that we take advantage of all the materials that are there that will actually benefit us. So for the safety of girls, let's go with the guiding principles, the child protection, the adolescent policies, and community understanding and setting of that particular community that they're going into. So in summary, those are the three most important things of ensuring the safety of the girls and having a local person just within that setting so that they are able to know that you have a buy-in from one of the gatekeepers. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so very much. You can go ahead,
Yes,
Brad.
so
I
for
forgot about you.
thank you,
Sorry.
thank you so much, Margaret. And we've heard from Gezia from what she's mentioned, everything that she's mentioned. What you and I, Margaret, can say is our adolescent girls and young women are safe in these spaces. They are
Definitely.
protected, and when we are sending them, we are assured that our young girls and these adolescent girls and young women are protected. And the last question was for a blessing. Blessing, Diana mentioned about how many you have helped in these spaces, and obviously how many you've inspired, if at all you have that number. So you can just talk more about that also.
Thank you very much, Diana, for that question. Allow me to state that it's not just in the board meetings, but in all meetings where young people are being mentioned and they are the topic of discussion, because we cannot say nothing for us without implementing that and putting it to practice. So allow me to state that I've managed to get young people to attend meetings that they were not invited to, such as the Alder NEPAD meeting on demographic dividend, because if we're talking about a youthful population, then we need young people to be there, and at least only a few young people were invited, but I managed before the end of the meeting to get at least 50 young people to attend that high level meeting where they could air out their views. Apart from that, we've been able to also engage young people in youth friendly spaces, in Saturday clinics, for example, and of course in other meetings such as the SHARP meeting, which is the Supporting Healthy Adolescents' Rights and Protection regional meetings. We've been able to also get young people to participate in the WDC meetings. For example, we had the WDC, the World Development Committee meetings in Livingston, in Dambwa. And of course, young people were invited to that meeting because of continuous lobbying with the councillors and the ward development committee members that were there for the young people to add their voice to what they want to see in the constituency development fund, what they want to see it do. And keeping the actual numbers may be a bit of a challenge right about now, but I know that a lot of young people have participated in meetings where I've been present in, because every time I go there, I make sure that I ask why we are talking about young people without the young people being present, and I always make sure that that they see the relevance of making sure people are in those meetings and are effectively represented by themselves. Thank you very much. I hope I've answered your question, Diana.
Okay, thank you so very much for that, Blazing. And I also hope Diana's gotten the response that she wanted. And I hope the response is satisfying to her. Thank you so very much for those responses that you've been able to provide us with. If you have any other comments before we can, time is running. I don't know if time knows that we have people have so much to share today and it's running like this. I have no idea, but time is really running today and we need to wrap up. But before we wrap up, if you have any other comments from the comment section, we can read them out. And if not, we can still continue with our discussion, and maybe we can now respond to one or two questions before we can close our discussion of the day. So my next question goes back to Gezira. Gezira, you mentioned that you go in these different communities, and of course you have the guidelines that just guide you on how best you can just distribute the information that you have to different spaces. Of course, looking at the adolescent girls and young women that you're meeting at that particular point. So now, kindly, as we are running out of time, you can keep your answers short. Kindly highlight some of the challenges that you face when you are trying to just provide this information and the leadership skills, the advocacy to these young women and girls. What challenges do you get to face, and how best do you get to just overcome those challenges? Gezira.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'll give two scenarios. So we have a mentorship program, and because we're a very new organization, we had put it on LinkedIn, and we saw parents were the ones that were calling. So we didn't shun them. We decided to respond to them. We added them to the WhatsApp group, and they started joining the sessions with their kids, with their young people. So that was for us a buy-in because we gained their trust. So that was on an online platform. Like you could even tell, like, oh, okay, even parents online do that. They're like, okay, I've seen this, but I'm joining before I can add my child. So they start into like 2, 3, 4 sessions. They're like, okay, now we've gained your trust. They're actually doing mentorship and leadership. Then we even had like a physical trip to the US Embassy. The parents wanted to follow. We're like, no, this is for your kids, but you can follow. It's the same thing even when you go to the community. There's an issue of trust, but the most important thing is that you need to acknowledge that we do have gatekeepers that we need to approach. The moment we go to the gatekeepers and they get the buy-in to and understand the most important thing that you're doing for the young people, especially when it has to do with issues like menstruation, like we are doing currently, it means that we're able to navigate through that community. So for example, gatekeepers, I mean the church, I mean the civic leaders, I mean an influential person in that community. Once they understand that, they're on your side for you to be able to actually provide that service to their young people. So those are some of the challenges. We have trust issues, people not really fully understanding why you're here for us, like why you, especially if it's a community that you haven't grown up into, you're just trying to help. So you really need to take your time, make them understand your vision, make them buy into what your vision is for the young people. Then you'll be able to navigate through that process, and also acknowledge the already existing structures, the schools, the clinics, because these are structures that have and will always be there. So once you have their support, it means even without you in that community, they'll still carry on with the knowledge and skill that you have shared with the community generally. Yeah, so I think that's the shortest I could have taken. Thank you very much, Margaret, for that question.
All right, thank you so very much, Gezira, for that. I will give an opportunity to Brian to say something.
Yes, Margaret. And Margaret, because of time, I think we should be getting our last messages from our lovely guest today. And I wanted to start with a blessing, but she's not with us because of maybe probably the network. So I would love to also go to Miranda and just get what advice she has for adolescent girls and young women who would love to join this project, the space, and also be part of these mentorship sessions that you are doing in with regards to this project, Miranda.
Thank you very much, Brian. So to start with, I'd just love to appreciate the young people that have taken up mentorship. Uh, uh, I mean, they have joined certain mentorship sessions and they have taken it up and taken it seriously and are benefiting from it. I just want to thank you, to say thank you to them. And also to those young people, I would tag as those that are scared or are not yet thinking about mentorship, or they just fear taking up leadership roles. I think for me, my message is simple: that they should not fear, and they should and they should not wait until the time that they feel like they are ready. But just to mention that leadership is actually a journey of growing. It's a journey of learning, and it's a journey of discovering your strengths. And you only discover this along your way. So just have in mind that your voice matters, your ideas, your experiences are valuable, and that you need to be and that your needs are actually very much important, and you need to ensure that you bring those out. So for young people, I'll just say be willing to take up the first step, and if it feels uncomfortable, just seek mentorship, believe in yourself, and take it seriously. Remember that every great leader started somewhere. So the opportunity that you're afraid of right now to pursue, today, it may actually become a platform through which you will be able to inspire others and also be able to empower others tomorrow. So please take up this role. So I think that is what I have to say to a young person out there that could be scared of taking up any leadership role, or is looking forward to taking up and does not know how or which role to take.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Miranda, for that explanation, for that advice that you have for adolescent girls and young women who'd love to join these mentorship spaces, as well as these actual great spaces. So I'd love also to hear from Blessing. Blessing, what advice do you have to your fellow young women and adolescent girls who want to join these spaces and also want to be like you, being able to represent other young people in decision making spaces?
Thank you very much, Brian, for that question. To my fellow young people, let's show up. It's not enough to just be young by age. You need to take a step further. My journey with the project and my mentorship journey within the project has been about being presented with a challenge that I can take up. You will find different people. Some will present you with the way forward, others will present you with a challenge that you need to address. So it's not enough to just be young. Begin to identify those challenges in your community and see how best you can solve them with your fellow young people. And the biggest room that you can ever have before you step into any room or any decision making space, the biggest room that you can ever have is the room for improvement. So be ready to learn, be ready to improve yourself so that even when you get to those decision making spaces, you remain relevant. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so very much for those contributions and the last word that you just given us. We have a burning question in the comment section, and Brian, you can go ahead and just give it to Gezire to, to respond to it at this point.
Yes, so thank you so much, Margaret. So the question is, how do we include positive masculinity in such initiative? Wow, such a great question. And this one is going directly to you, Gezire. Please do take up this question.
Okay. My, hear me now? Me?
Yes, we can hear you, Gezire. Go ahead.
So what this simply means is that it's a whole different topic about positive masculinity, but I believe we see our males in positive masculinity as being our allies. I'll give a very good example whereby positive masculinity will come in. Positive masculinity is whereby women are talking about their menstruation. I love this topic so much. For those of you that know me, we're just from commemorating the Menstrual Hygiene Day, which was on the 28th. So, how do I come in as a Brian, as a male person to support these women, for me to, sit into my positive masculinity? The fact that you have supported in the distribution of pads does not mean that you have suppressed your masculinity. It's you being an ally, championing something for your fellow, something for your fellow young person, be it they're female and be their young girl, but you're there championing. I know that menstruation matters. You're there championing it on your t-shirt. You're there creating that banner. You're there distributing that part. And I know of a man who actually teaches young girl how to make those pads. So it's a concept of where, as much as it does not affect me directly as a man, I don't, I'm not affected by period poverty, but I have a sister, I have a neighbor, I'm going to have a wife, and eventually I'm going to have children. So, what do I understand about this topic that affects someone who's really close to me? So that is where now you come in to fully support some of these agendas that affect the females. It could be even issues of access to healthcare for the girls, for you to be able to show that positivity in terms of, yes, you're masculine, we are not going to take that from you, but you're there showing it, being our allies, holding our hands to say, you know what, Blessing, you're not feeling well, and you're my sister, I'm going to go to ShopRite and I'm going to bring you this pad. So for me, that is how I see it.
Okay.
Great, great. So I think, Margaret, before you come in, because this was speaking to our part as men in our role with regards to protecting our sisters, our nieces, and our girlfriends sometimes. So I think Gezide mentioned very well that we also have this active role to play, because if we just fold our arms and say this is for women and we're not taking part, it means that we're not doing justice to our sisters, nieces, as well as our girlfriends. Margaret, I think, thank you so much, Gezire. That was very, very insightful, and I guess that question has been answered. And I think I've also learned something from your response, and this could be the same to our viewers out there. Thank you so much, Gezire. And Margaret, you can come in now and maybe just say um, anything about it.
Okay, thank you so very much. Looking at time, we have gone overboard with time, but we need to wrap up because we need to make this show accessible to each and every person who would like to just watch it. And looking at the discussion of the day today, it has been a very hot one, and our comment section was buzzing with brilliant and yet strong questions that you're able to give, and the contributions that you're just able to give, and of which that's very amazing. Thank you so very much to our online community for such a participation. And thank you so much to my guest or to our guest of the day. But before we go, this is when we're starting this. And for this, we need drum roll. We need the drum roll for this one because we are doing it for the first time on this show. And obviously, after announcing this, a number of people will be able to just, be able to participate and be present in our Real Talk shows. So as you all know, as TYP, we have the Rahai each and every year. And for this year's Rahai, we want to make it a little bit different by making people win some scholarships for them to just attend the Rahai. Like you don't have to go through the stress of applying, the stress of going through all those processes for you to attend the Rahai. But through your participation on the show, you are able to just win yourself that opportunity. And today we have a winner. And this winner for today is this person who was invited. In the comment section, we see a number of comments that are saying, I was invited by... And this person that has invited a number of people to join the Real Talk show today is Wellness Piri. So Wellness Piri is our first... She's setting the record. She's our first person to win a scholarship to the Rahai 2026. So Wellness, you can get in touch with us so that we can discuss more details. You can also be part of the winners by inviting people to be part of this show, inviting people to contribute, just sharing the Real Talk show to the other people. And you can find yourself at the Rahai 2026 this year. We are out of time, and from us, it's a bye-bye. Thank you so very much for your contribution, and see you next week. Same people, no, same hosts, different topic, different people. See you all next week. Bye-bye. We love you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. And to our guests, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.